At the start of the industrial era, wealthy landowners began farming on enclosed land, separate from the other farmers. Because of this, small farmers had a hard time finding work. The use of machinery in farming began to become widespread, and as a result, it took less farmers to work the same amount of land as before. This caused many farmers to look for other means of work. Many found jobs working in the factories producing the farming equipment that had replaced them. England as a whole was in pretty bad shape, along with the other countries as well. However, things began to get better as England, along with the rest of the world, began to industrialize. The long-term result of this widespread industrialization was production as a whole quadrupled from the 1750s to the 1900s.
Before the industrial era, artisans would do everything by hand, seeing their product from start to finish. This resulted in a final product that was high in quality, but was extremely slow and tedious to produce. All the work was done at home, in group workrooms, with a small number of people working together. The transition to the factory system made production much faster due to the use of several new inventions. Like the farmers, many artisans found themselves out of work, and as a result, many found new jobs in the factories that had caused them to lose their jobs in the first place. Many factories adopted the assembly line method as a way to produce their products faster than previously possible. This was good for the nation's economy as a whole. The tools and machines invented during the industrial era made it so that a process or task that had taken several individuals in the previous era could now be done by one or two people. One of these such inventions was the seed drill, invented by Jethro Tull. The seed drill greatly improved crop production and the amount of crops that could be grown at one time.
Another process that was very beneficial to farming was crop rotation. Crop rotation benefited the soil by cycling through one type of plant per field at a time. One invention that revolutionized the textile industry was the spinning jenny, invented by James Hargreaves. The spinning jenny used 8 spindles to increase the amount of thread that could be produced at one time. The exciting new power source of the day was steam power. It revolutionized almost every industry, from its use in transportation to its use as a power source to power the many factories that were springing up all across the country. To showcase the world's inventions, the Crystal Palace was founded. This was where nations from all over the world could gather to show off their latest inventions and improvements in technology. Living conditions during the Industrial Revolution varied greatly depending on one's social class. During this era, the middle class was very small and insignificant. The upper class lived lavish lives full of luxury and comfort. The lower class, however, was not as fortunate. People in the lower class were forced to live in tenement houses, sharing their already limited resources with other lower class families. They were forced to share things such as bathrooms, living rooms, and bedrooms. Outside the overcrowded tenement houses, things were not much better, as people had to walk along cramped streets lined with open sewers.
Near the end of the Industrial Revolution, new regulations and unions were being formed. The unions that were formed helped workers negotiate with employers for fair wages. These negotiations took many forms, but the majority of these negotiations were carried out through the use of strikes. Along with fairer wages, new laws were formed to help protect workers on the job. The Factory Act set work hours for kids based on their age. The Mine Act prevented women and children from working underground. The 10-Hour Act set a 10-hour workday for everyone. The National Child Labor Committee ended child labor completely after serious reports were written describing the horrors of child labor. Women had groups especially for women's rights in the workplace as well. In 1833, Parliament abolished slavery, and America followed more than 30 years later with the passing of the 13th Amendment in 1865. The children that were uneducated and could no longer work enrolled in the newly created public education system.